Under this government, removals of foreign national offenders are up 36%, with nearly 10,000 returned since we entered office. The fact that this has not, so far, been possible with an individual responsible for such heinous crimes as Shabir Ahmed is unacceptable. I can assure the House that we have not given up, and we will not. While the original intentions of the legislation in question mean we ought to proceed with care, the nature of the offending in this case demands that we explore all options, and that is what we're doing. And in the meantime, we will, of course, do everything in our power to keep the public safe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To ask the Home Department if it will make a statement on whether the government is planning to change the law to deport Rochdale grooming gang leader Shabir Ahmed.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll start with where any discussion of this nature must always start, and that's with the victims. Over the years, they were subjected to unspeakable crimes, exploited and abused by vile predators, and woefully let down by the agencies charged with protecting them. And I know the House will join me in saying they are in our thoughts today and always. The grooming gang scandal was and will forever be one of the darkest moments in our nation's history. And I know for those affected it will have been unbelievably painful to learn that one of the perpetrators was due for release from prison. Having been convicted in 2012, Shabir Ahmed has served the custodial element of his sentence. He is on the sex offenders register for life, ordered to stay away from his victims and banned from contacting any child or young person. As well as facing strict curfews and restriction zones, his every movement will be tracked. He will be required to wear an electronic tag. Should he breach these conditions, he can be immediately returned to prison. Shabir Ahmed held British citizenship at the time of these offences, and action was taken to deprive him of that right, reflecting the seriousness of his offences. Having arrived in the UK before 1971, he is exempt from deportation due to Section 7 of the Immigration Act. This Act preserved the rights of Commonwealth and Irish citizens who were already in the UK when the Act took effect on the 1st of January 1973. This is not a loophole, Mr. Speaker. The provisions of Section 7 were put in place to protect existing rights for an identified cadre of Commonwealth citizens, most notably the Windrush generation. But, Mr. Speaker, as you know, when a foreign national breaks the laws of this land, our first priority will always be to get them out of the UK. Under this government, removals of foreign national offenders are up 36%, with nearly 10,000 returned since we entered office. The fact that this has not, so far, been possible with an individual responsible for such heinous crimes as Shabir Ahmed is unacceptable. I can assure the House that we have not given up, and we will not. While the original intentions of the legislation in question mean we ought to proceed with care, the nature of the offending in this case demands that we explore all options, and that is what we're doing. And in the meantime, we will, of course, do everything in our power to keep the public safe.
Kate.
He was jailed in 2012 for 30 counts of child rape. His victims were promised that when he got out of prison, he would be deported back to Pakistan. He has been released from prison, but now we are told that he will not be deported because of a provision in the 1971 Immigration Act. The idea that he might be allowed to stay in this country because of a clause in a decades-old law designed for a completely different time and context is not just absurd, but sickening. As recently as 2023, parole officers concluded that Ahmed poses, and I quote, a very high risk of serious harm to children. How can he possibly be allowed to walk the streets again? When the law produces an outcome which is so clearly so wrong, the law must be changed. And the government must now change this law to make sure that we can remove Ahmed. Members on this side of the House, including the Leader of the Opposition, have made clear that if the Home Secretary puts forward changes to the law which would allow us to deport Shabir Ahmed, we will support them. The Shadow Home Secretary has already drafted an amendment that the government could adopt. The argument for deporting Ahmed is clear, and the mechanism has already been created. All that remains in question is whether the government has the will to act. If so, then we will be happy to support them. If it does not, people across this country will rightly ask, as they already are, whether this is a government that can really keep the British people safe.
I'm grateful for the Honourable Lady's question and subsequent follow-up. I share her anger, and I share her concern too at the anger of the British people who rightly expect that when foreign offenders break our laws, they're removed from our country. That's why we've made the removals to degrees that we have. I will look closely, as we always do, at all amendments and new clauses put forward by the opposition and all honourable and right honourable colleagues to legislation or other ideas as they come forward. As I say, in the context, I couldn't be clearer that all options are on the table at this stage. I might gently say there was, of course, a significant period of time between conviction and the change of government where these changes weren't brought forward, including by some of them some individuals that I expect to be co-signatories. Nevertheless, we are where we are, and the spirit in which she offers that support, I think, is welcome, and I think the public will want to see Parliament come together to make sure that in cases where people commit really serious crimes, we're able to remove them from the country.